20. Oh, thank you for recording it. I had it on pause. Welcome to the 2023 League of Women Voters of the La Crosse Area Annual Meeting. I'm Robin Schmidt, the outgoing president for the League of the La Crosse Area. And tonight's program, we're going to have just a few opening comments. Okay, let me see if I can actually do this. I'm trying to, there we go. We're going to have a few opening remarks, and then we're going to have our guest speaker, who is our student board member, Morgan Hose, talk to us about her experience and her future. We're going to do a summary of committee reports, and the topic leaders and committee chairs will give a report on all the different things the league is doing. We're going to have a brief recognition of our supporters and our folks who have donated to our league. And then we're going to go on to the business part of the meeting, which is going to be the ballots and voting. And then our new president will end the meeting with some closing comments. So I just wanted to make a couple introductory comments, basically about the optimism that I feel about our future. And even though the news media would like us to think that the sky is falling, I think that what I have learned in the last 2 years is the work that you all do makes a huge difference in this community. It makes a difference in terms of making people aware of things, whether it be climate change or voting rights or healthcare or economic opportunities. I think our messages are being heard and respected. I also feel strongly that it wouldn't happen for all the great work that you do. The high voter turnout that we have in this area is really, I think, a reflection of the work that you do for the league. And I don't think any of that would happen if we weren't here and didn't have the quality of people working on our behalf. So thank you all. All you have to do is kind of look at the student voter turnout and just smile and think, wow, that is very cool. We're a volunteer organization, and our strength comes from the contributions and the passion that everybody has and brings to the league openly and freely. It's really heartwarming to see that. From voter education to voter registration, candidate forums, to the programming we've done on education and good government, healthcare, and more, and the work that we've done to keep the community connected through our social media team and our website and our newsletter. All of that really is such a huge positive way for us to basically fulfill our mission of empowering voters, defending democracy. So I think it's awesome. The other thing is that I also see that the connections and trust that we've built between different organizations has really grown in the last 2 years. And I think the partnering that you've done through all the different committees is so positive, and it's just going to get better and better in the future and help us represent the diverse community that we have in this area. So I'm filled with optimism for our future and our democracy. And I try to blot out the news when I start to question. So I just hope you all can share that optimism. And I look forward to, continuing with the great work that the league has been doing. I'm going to turn the program now over to Morgan Hose. And I'm going to let her introduce herself. I had some introductory comments, but I think looking at her slides, I'm going to let her take it away. Morgan, make sure I can get the slide to advance before you start. There we go. Oh, shoot, that's not it. Okay, I'm so good at sharing screen. This is a slide of my optimism. We'll now go on to Morgan's slides. Go ahead, Morgan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Hose, as Robin said. Thank you. It's an honor to be welcomed as the guest speaker for the league's annual meeting. And I want to just thank the board for giving me this opportunity to not only speak today, but for this position that I've held for the past year. For those of you that don't know, I have served as the first League of Women Voters student representative for the past year. So first, I kind of want to just give you all a little bit of background information about myself and who I am. I am originally from Austin, Minnesota, and I committed in 2019 to go to the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. My older sister and her now husband both attended college here, so I was already really familiar with the area and campus and felt comfortable going to college here. Now, 4 years later, excuse me, I am a college graduate from UWL. I actually graduated yesterday with a Bachelor of Science in Political Science and Communication Studies with a minor in Legal Studies. I was declared on the pre-law track all 4 years of undergrad. And now I will soon be moving out to Boston to attend a New England School of Law starting in the fall. So kind of some background on me and the political side of my interests. So ever since the 2016 presidential election, I've been very interested in politics, our democracy, and the systems that run them. For me, it's always kind of been less about political parties and more about how our country has functioned and operated under this political system. I love politics for the current events, media coverage, nationwide engagement, and even more. During this election, I wanted to become a politician because of these reasons. Robin, if it helps, I can tell you when to switch slides.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. So I researched some of my favorite politicians and their educational backgrounds, and that's when I realized I wanted to go to law school. It wasn't until entering college that I came to the conclusion that I no longer really wanted to pursue being a politician, but rather a practicing attorney. However, throughout my 4 years here, I never stopped being interested in politics and elections, hence my major. I have also worked the 2020 presidential election polling place on campus and the 2022 midterm elections polling place on campus as a poll worker, and I do plan on continuing to do that. Through my majors and minors, I got to combine all of my interests in journalism, politics, and the legal system, and further these passions through my on-campus involvement. It was in my position, actually, as a College of Arts, Social Sciences, and Humanities Senator for UWL Student Association, where I first heard that the league was looking for a student representative to work with them for a one-year term. Now I'm here, and I'm so glad I applied for this opportunity, and I've learned a lot. My mom has always been passionate about the league and followed their involvement, so it was a really great feeling to tell her that I'd officially be a member. So you can move to the next slide. So in my position, I started out attending monthly Zoom meetings and essentially learning about what the league was, what we do, and how we do it. I then joined the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and started sitting in on those meetings as well. Further into my term, I attended some think tank meetings to discuss the best ways to connect with students at UWL and increase engagement in elections. I've also collaborated with UWL Campus Votes Project Fellows Abby Ryder and Matthew Gast on voter engagement on campus, and I also welcomed the league to speak at a student association meeting. While I wasn't extremely knowledgeable coming into this role on the league's presence in the community, I feel as though I know a lot more now than I did then, and I hope to transfer what I learned to the future student representatives. I am very optimistic in this implementation of this position and genuinely hope to see this position continue over the years. By being the first student representative, I was mainly focused on finding my footing in the league and learning about its inner workings as a nonpartisan organization. I think there's a lot of potential for collaboration and engagement in this position that can be accomplished through building a bridge between the league's resources and a student on campus and immersed in that young voter demographic. You can move slides again. So I'm sure some of you might be wondering, why is my position important? So I just kind of wanted to break down some facts that I have learned this past year and through this position. The voting demographic of college students has been rapidly changing, and data from the 2020 presidential election, 2022 midterm elections, and the 2023 Wisconsin Supreme Court voter turnout has demonstrated that. For example, the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse alone recorded a voter turnout of 1,294 out of around 30,000 students living on campus for the 2023 Wisconsin Supreme Court election. Now, this turnout was significantly higher than an April 2022 election, where they recorded only 182 on-campus students that had voted. So the Institute for Democracy and Higher Education, which later I'll be referring to as IDHE, has a database called the National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement. That's kind of referred to as NSOLV. This database contains over 10.5 million of college and university student records for each election. Now, each cohort year contains over 1,100 institutions of higher education from across all 50 states here in the US. But why does that exactly matter in terms of being a league in Wisconsin? So the IDHE estimates that Wisconsin is home to 340,000 college students, which, to put into perspective, accounts for nearly 7% of the voting population. Wisconsin is also ranked the #1 state where young voters have an especially high likelihood of influencing election results in governor and Senate races. Now, in addition to this, there was a record-breaking youth voter turnout and mobilization for the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. But why exactly does this matter? So turning 18 years old isn't just the time it becomes legal to vote, but it's also the time where many students move away from home, move away from their parents, from where they're comfortable, to now living alone and having newfound freedom. This change can be uncomfortable, scary, and a bit nerve-wracking. And I mean, I should know, I too went through it. Even through this position, and even before I took this position, I knew I wanted to provide a friendly, known face to my campus polling place, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, I worked as a poll worker. To be able to see a college student working the polls and helping other students to register to vote and to vote in general can make the process a whole lot more uncomfortable or a whole lot more comfortable, less scary, and in the long run, encourage more students to vote and continue voting. Now, the exact same goes for this exact position. The League is an incredibly important organization that can provide many resources to elections and politics in general. Now, by branching out and connecting to one of the most important voter demographics, college students, through my position, a massive and positive impact can occur and reoccur year after year. You can switch slides.
I'm trying.
You're okay.
There we go. Sorry.
No, you're good. So as I mentioned earlier, excuse me, allergies have been very bad for me lately. But as I mentioned earlier, college students make up a large portion of voters. So I personally went ahead for this meeting today and surveyed my peers on their opinions on elections and voting. So these quotes that you can see on the screen are from students that either haven't voted, voted once, or voted once and don't plan on voting again. So if we just look at a few of those quotes, many students that I surveyed said, "It's only one vote, it doesn't matter. My parents are Democrat, Republican, so I will be too. There isn't a candidate that I like. The options are only Democrat or Republican. I don't know how to vote or I don't know where to vote. I don't know what or who is on the ballot," which is a very common one that students say to me. Or sadly, the most sad one I think I heard was, "I don't care about politics." Now, the League, being a nonpartisan, resourceful organization, can be used at the college level to reverse these opinions for the better. Perhaps the #1 reason college students don't vote is that lack of knowledge or awareness on how to vote, who is on the ballot, and where to vote. Now, this position can directly work on campus to help answer these questions by using the support and resources of the League's organization. Now, in the long run, this can help to register students to vote, which has been proven to encourage reoccurring voters, help guide student voters with the location of their polling place using Vote 411, and help to advocate for education on candidates prior to going to the polls. That way, they're not blindsided once they get there. College students are in a unique position where they are independent and do have freedom, but they're still in a protected environment to guide them into adulthood. This means 4 years to encourage students to use the resources available to them to create habits that they can carry with them past college. You can switch slides. Now, this is kind of where the League comes in. The League is beneficial to this vulnerable demographic due to its nonpartisan engagement, nationwide access, its inclusivity to all, the amount of resources and knowledge available, and personally my favorite, the role model mentality. Now, many, if not all, of the members in the League have voted before, lived through multiple presidencies and elections, and experienced many current issues being voted on one way or the other. So in short, they know a thing or two. They have the knowledge and the experience to pass down onto younger generations that they can then carry on to the next. For me personally, it's motivational for me and has been motivational for me to see people of all ages stay informed, engaged in elections, and participate in their community at a local, state, and national level. Now, seeing that has proved just how important it is for my generation to carry this initiative. You can switch slides. So, as I said earlier, this position can leave a positive impact on the future of elections and my generation of voters. As a student representative, it can grow year after year through trial and error to promote election engagement and more. Future student representatives can build collaborations with other colleges such as Viterbo and Western Tech, other leagues in Wisconsin and other league student representatives, organizations on campus. As I mentioned earlier, Student Association always welcomes guest speakers, and local businesses often visited by college students. In order to increase engagement, this position can help with tabling at popular campus events such as Fall and Spring Involvement Fest, Eagle Fest, which we've done in the past, and more. They can also host guest speakers in classes and organizational meetings and help with social media engagement. Overall, this position can help lead a lasting impact on college students' political knowledge and voter turnout in all elections, not just presidential ones. You can switch slides. So with that all being said, I know that was a lot of information all at once, but that is kind of how I viewed my position in the league and just the past election years during my time here at college, and how we can be a positive impact and how I think this position can be beneficial in the long run. So I'd just like to thank you all for listening. And now I'd like to open the floor up for any questions that you all might have.
And I think if you have the ability to raise your hand, we can call on you. If you don't and just want to speak out, we'll just take turns and ask questions as they come up. Is there somebody who has a question? I'd like to ask Morgan first. You have to unmute yourself. Morgan, while we're waiting for people to think about that, I have a question here. I didn't generate this question, but someone emailed it to me. And that is, now that you're familiar with kind of our organization, in particular when it comes to our voter services team, how do you think that, what advice would you have for them in terms of future elections to get out the vote more for post-secondary students? Like, are there some strategies that you think they could be undertaking that or use more that you've seen?
Yeah, so I definitely think that tabling is a very beneficial one, and it's probably not to say the easiest, but the most effective with the time given. You're in an environment where there's already going to be an influx of college students. You are surrounded by other organizations that students are looking at. And so I think with all the tabling that Chris has done in this past year is beneficial and is a good way to do it. I think social media, of course, is always a good route. My generations love social media. They're always on their phones. So an increasement in posting on social media. You all do a great job now, and I love seeing what I'm seeing. I think the Johnny Davis collaboration was great. But just getting that out more, which I think can be done through over the years of having this position, and for them to be sharing it on their own personal social media accounts. But also just working with UWL Campus Votes Project and fully immersing the league in places that are already infiltrated by college students. So like I mentioned, local businesses that college students visit all the time and tabling at these events. Those are just a few options that I think can be beneficial once they start to gain traction over the years.
And just a quick follow-up, Morgan. Do you think that the students who are participating in these events would be more drawn in if there were another student that of same age at these events tabling? Like, is that something that would matter? Like, would students feel more comfortable coming up to the table if we had a couple of students working there?
100%, which is why I do really like this position and hope to see it continue. I believe it was Eagle Fest where Chris was at with Abby Ryder and Matthew Gast. And I think just having them there alone was more encouraging for students to go up there and register to vote. And so I think having a friendly face, a familiar face even, is a good way to get students to feel more comfortable going up, as well as having whatever student you're working with approach students in a friendly, familiar aspect.
Are there other questions from the floor?
I have a question. Morgan, I'm going to be speaking about book club a little bit down the road. And we always talk about whether we could somehow have a chapter or a group for book club that would encourage students, or maybe a separate group that would meet. Is that even anything that you think the students would ever be interested in doing?
If I'm being completely honest, probably not, because of just how heavy the workload is with school in general. Many students aren't very willing to put more on their plate. But however, I do know that UWL does have an active book club here on campus. And I don't know how many members they have, but it does exist. They do meet quite often. And it is a niche but close-knit group. So it wouldn't hurt reaching out to them and seeing if there was something that an idea that they had to encourage it more, or to connect with them just in general. But I think it's worth looking at.
Other questions?
Nora has her hand up.
Oh, Nora?
You have to unmute Nora.
Thank you. Sorry. Morgan, I noticed that you said that one of the reasons students give, and I agree, is that they don't feel they know candidate information, and that is a deterrent to voting. Do you have any insights into clever things we could do to communicate candidate information? Vote for one, of course, is something that League does, but are there any other avenues for that you can think of?
Right off the bat, I'm not sure entirely any ways you could go about that effectively, since we are nonpartisan. But I think that kind of a way to go about this would, I know you all came to student association this past year, but another way you could go about it is also going and visiting the UWL College Democrats and the UWL College Republicans, if they're ever reinstated, during their weekly meetings, and seeing if you could be a guest speaker. And you could just promote those resources you have, promote what you do and who you are, and then kind of leave it up to them to promote whatever candidates are running, either democratically or republicly, and kind of let them take it from a more partisan route. But you could still target those organizations that are active with voting and will probably vote. As for students that might not vote because they don't know who's on the candidate, maybe visiting classrooms, I think it's easy to say, oh, we'll go to the political science classes, or oh, we'll go to the legal studies classes, or sociology or criminal justice, because that's what's interesting to them. But I think it's more of the STEM classes, the School of Education classes. I mean, that NSOLV data that I mentioned earlier statistically shows that STEM majors are the least likely to vote because they're not immersed in it. Their peers aren't immersed in it as well. So maybe going to those classes around election time and sharing those resources like Vote 411 could prove to be beneficial.
You think it would be helpful to model Vote 411? Have a short presentation for students that showed how to get on, what they could find, how to use that website?
That's a great question. And I think maybe if you do choose, and I hope you do, to come back to student association and present again, that's something you could do at that meeting, because all the senators there are representatives for their constituents, so for those students, and so they can go on and help students that ask them.
Okay, good, thanks.
More questions?
I have a question. Morgan, I know that the social media group had started using stories on Instagram and on Facebook. Do you think that would be an effective way, say, take a particular race that's going on? So say it's a senator race, and say the first slide says, oh, there's going to be a senatorial race in your district. And then say, the Republican running is XYZ. The Democrat running is XYZ. And then maybe the last or the next to the last slide say, here's how you find information. Vote 411. And I know that we have kind of assumed that that's something that that students like because it's quick, you know, and they can advance through if they're not interested. What do you think about that?
I think that it would be extremely helpful, especially if the student representative that you have in the next coming years puts that on their story as well. I follow quite a bit of political and election, non-biased, nonpartisan accounts, and it's very rare that you do see those. And I think having it in one place, specifically social media, which we're already using so much, is a good way to go about that. And just a quick and easy way, because sometimes going on a website and trying to find the year and the election that's going on and finding their information can be a bit overwhelming. So having something quick and familiar as on such like an Instagram platform would be very effective.
Thank you.
And I've got a question.
Go ahead, Jay.
Thanks, Morgan, for all this good information. And we have, you know, reached out to the 3 campuses this spring, offering, you know, an invitation to join the league as a student representative. And now, at what point in this spring do we have like less opportunity to reach the students in order to try to follow up and meet somebody? Are the kids, is everybody pretty much going to be gone now after graduation this month, or
I
is there
will say,
anything that continues over the summer?
looking at kind of the other organizations I'm a part of, and when I see an increase in members or people that are applying to work at the Racket Press, May is a very bad month because one week you have the last week of classes, the next week it's finals, then the week after that, everyone's kind of moving out of their place or switching apartments. And so May is difficult. And I know that you would like this term to start or begin around June 1st, but I have seen kind of an increase in either the first couple of weeks in June or the first couple of weeks in August, where a lot of students are like, oh, classes is starting. I just got all my school supplies. What's a way I can get involved? Especially those first 2 weeks in August, you're coming off of a 2-month break. You're getting back into that school mindset. And I think that's a time where students look at how they can get more involved or how they can start off their new year trying something new. So I don't know if maybe in the future you wanted to maybe look at the term being starting at a different date other than June 1st, because I fear that not a lot of students are thinking about taking on another responsibility in May. But that's kind of just my thoughts on it.
Thank you. That's helpful. Thank you.
I think, Morgan, the reason we did that is because we've had a retreat in June for our board members. And so it was nice to like really get to know each other and allow the student, and you came to the one we had last year, and it was really great to be able to spend that much time with you. But I think I hear what you're saying, that it's really not a very good time to be trying to get people interested in serving on the board. So.
Right. And especially if a lot of students, especially underclassmen, do go home for the summers, that can make it challenging too. I personally really liked the retreat because it was a great first introduction. It was an in-person event where I got to meet everyone. It was very procedural, where I could learn the backgrounds and the ins and out. So I wouldn't want them to miss out on that opportunity. But if you would eventually move like maybe the monthly meetings to in person, maybe it wouldn't be as important, or not important, but influential to go to those. But that time of year is just a bad time for college students, unfortunately.
There's a question here, Morgan, that came in. Did you have opportunities to interact with either local elected officials or candidates? And if so, did you learn anything from them?
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned in my other campus involvement, I served as the executive editor for the Racket Press this year, and I had quite a few politicians reach out to me about doing interviews and writing articles. So I interviewed Brad Path, and then his partner, Mark Doken. And then I have also just been really close with Jill Billings recently. She's kind of served as a little mentor for me in life and in this past year. and Jill Billings and Chris Woodard did do a little debate off in student association. So I got to kind of work and talk with those four. I feel like I'm definitely missing some. Oh yeah, one of the biggest I did was I interviewed Tony Evers and sat in on a round table with him as well. So that was very fun. So I think on the Democrat side, we are seeing good engagement with them reaching out to UWL, but from the Republican side, it's been a bit harder to get them to want to come to campus or to make the time to come see us too. But I think the opportunity was there, and I know that it wasn't just my position at the racket that was able for me to do that. There was a lot of students involved as we extended that invitation to other campus students, so that was really nice.
Well, Morgan, I think we're going to close the questions. I just want to say it's been a delight to have you on the board. We've learned a lot from you. We really value all of your input and the contributions that you've made, and we wish you all the best out in Boston. I'm jealous. Please have a lobster roll for me when you're out there, at least one. And we really do wish you well. And as we talked before, stay in touch. I'd love to update folks on how you're doing. And great, best of luck to you in law school and wherever the path takes you. I'm sure you'll be doing great things.
Thank you, Robin. That means a lot. And I am very thankful to have gotten to work alongside all of you. I will miss our monthly meetings, but good luck with the future. And I'm really excited to see where this position can go in the future.
And we know how to find you. So we will forward and make sure that communication happens as we get new student leaders on board.
Of course. Yes. Well, thank you again, Robin.
All right. Thanks. All right. We're going to get on to the next part of the program here. And we're going to go into our committees. I'm going to just mention quickly that diversity, equity, and inclusion is really integrated into all of our program work. We did enhance the membership committee to be membership and inclusion. We created a strategic plan, and I look forward to updating that this summer. We have made progress on making sure that our opportunities are inclusive for a variety of in a variety of different ways. I also want to mention to you that we created a membership hub on our website. So if you haven't been to our website and seen the membership hub, it has all things league. So if you want background information, other information about the league, resources are there, as is our membership directory. We have a healthy number of members with our organization. You can see the numbers there. And I look forward to doing great things with our membership for next year. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris to talk about the work of the Voter Services Committee and other things. Take it away, Chris.
Thank you, Robin. I am always proud to talk about the Voter Services Committee, so I appreciate this opportunity. As was previously mentioned, the mission of the League of Women Voters is to empower voters and defend democracy. As Lincoln said, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that translates to us, to our slogan, everyone vote. We've had great success in the last several years, actually, with the La Crosse County vote, with several record-breaking turnouts. And I'm going to ask you to do a couple things now too. Would you please take a look at all the names of the people who are on the Voter Services Committee? Each one of those people add to our success and our ability to turn out the vote. Second thing I'm going to ask you to do is to please read our report in the annual report for details. I'm just going to highlight a few things for you that have changed this year or improved. We always go into the high schools. This year we went to 7 high schools in the spring to register the seniors. We added 2. La Crosse Polytechnic and Arcadia High School. We also, as Morgan said, worked with the post-secondary institutions in town. We were particularly pleased with our expansion at Viterbo and Western. We made some new connections there, and they allowed us to, an outreach that we hadn't had in the past. So that was a great change in that area. We also expanded greatly our work with the African American community. We work with the 3 organizations of Black Hope Restores and Black Student Leaders. And proud again to say that we received a Black Excellence Award from those 3 organizations as a partner with them. And we continued our work in the jail. We've been working in the jail to register voters for the last 3 years. This year, this Wisconsin ACLU awarded us as a model program for other county jails to look at for registering inmates. And we're really excited that we just most recently have started working with the La Crosse County probation officers so that we can pretty immediately, when people are finished with their probation, make sure that they're aware that their right to vote is restored at that time. At any one time, there are about 1,000 people on probation in La Crosse County. So here's my third ask. Come and join us. We're a big group, but we could use more members. We're not quite at everyone vote. We haven't hit 100% yet in any election. So it's wonderful, rewarding work, and we'd love to have you come and be a part of the Voter Services Committee. And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Leslie Wagner, who's going to talk to you about forums.
Thank you, Chris. This is my 3rd year, I believe, as a league member. And earlier this year, I did accept the invitation to follow in Ellen's footsteps and help coordinate candidate forums, because basically it falls within my wheelhouse. Although I'm technically retired now, in my professional life, I have been a legislative staffer in Madison, a PR manager, and a freelance writer and editor. So those are the experiences and skills I hope to bring to this role for the League of Women Voters. As we know, February and April were the only 2 elections in 2023, and the La Crosse Area League was asked to host 1 candidate forum during election season. This was for the Vernon County Circuit Court Judge race on the April 4th ballot. So there's a bit of a backstory here. We were led to expect that one of the candidates might decline to participate in a public forum, despite League's nonpartisan reputation. So because there's been so much extra scrutiny on League-sponsored events and positions, we wanted to ensure that League protocols were followed at every step of the process, from extending the invitation to the choice of the venue to every subsequent communication with the candidates and their campaign reps. By the time both candidates had officially accepted our offer to host a forum, we had less than 4 weeks to pull together all the details. And by every measure, it was a very successful event. Just a few bullet points of the highlights, we feel. We received advance interest from WXOW News 19 about streaming and recording options. We counted about 50 people in attendance in Westby. There was a high level of audience engagement in this forum. Their questions covered a broad range of issues, and the candidates' responses gave everyone a good understanding of their positions, so the audience left feeling the forum was very worthwhile. We developed a solid working relationship with Westby area school representatives who expressed great eagerness to host future league events at their excellent facility. And best of all, as far as I'm concerned, was that we had numerous audience members seek us out afterwards with compliments and thanks to the league for conducting the forum. For me, the most gratifying comment came from a candidate's spouse who made a point of taking me by the arm to share what a bad experience He'd had at a public event several years ago, so they both appreciated how our league handled the forum process from start to finish. Overall, I think the work of our league members set a very high bar for people who might have attended or watched this forum without much expectation from such an event. Instead of a contentious face-off, it was civil, respectful, informative, and very skillfully conducted. So lots of people deserve special thanks for that, but especially Betty Crook, Catherine Kolkmeyer, Mary Nugent, plus Nora Garland, Barb Roberts, Ellen Franz, of course, and Robin Schmidt. From my own perspective, the March Forum was definitely a learn-as-you-go experience, but the outcome makes me confident that the foundation work that we have in place for the 2024 elections is very solid. But we always welcome feedback and suggestions. So thanks for the opportunity, and hopefully next year we will be off to a strong start in the area of forums. So I think it's now Deb Luchin who is going to speak a little bit about Vote 411 and also the work of the program committee this year.
Thank you, Leslie. Excuse me. And thanks, Leslie was also a member of the program committee that I will be speaking about after I touch base about Vote 411. So the League of Women Voters in La Crosse initiated the Vote 411 voter education platform back in 2020. And I want to give a shout out to Martha Linville, who volunteered to initiate this activity for our local league. She was the tech guru and gave us a firm foundation for the 2020 through the 2022 elections. So, you know, she did a lot of work that established the Vote 411 as a good project for our local league. We had a new person. We were thrilled that Ina Felsheim raised her hand and volunteered to help with the technical aspects of the platform. And you can see we had a great team that helped accomplish that task for the primary and then the spring elections this year. And of course, there's been a lot of discussion about Vote 411 and how can we get the word out. And we definitely appreciate the communication team of Nora and Barb and Martha who do that part of Vote 411, as well, of course, the voter services who promote it when they're meeting with the public. So this spring, as you may know, we are responsible only for county and local races. This spring in February, there was a primary, and then in the April election that covered 61 local offices. And we had 97 candidates that we entered into the Vote 411 platform. We invite all candidates to participate. We get about 45% of all of the candidates actually complete the survey. As you might guess, if they are in a contested race, those candidates are most likely to actually answer our survey questions. But if someone was going to the Vote 411 platform, they at least see the name of who is going to appear on the ballot at a minimum. There's also links to other information like voting sites and clerks and things like that it links to the state from the platform. One of the things you can do can help us is to promote the Vote 411 website. We also would appreciate it if you would encourage your local elected officials to participate. We get feedback from county clerks who thank us for making that tool available to the voters in the community. So the more outreach by league members would be helpful as well, especially to encourage local candidates, even if they are not a contested race, to answer our questions and provide information. You know, we heard Morgan say, one of the reasons they don't want to vote is I don't know these people. Who are they? Why should I vote for them? And so that is the objective for the Vote 411. And I know when we started, national really did want local to participate, because those local municipal and smaller races are most likely not covered by news media. And so those are what voters say they would look for on a Vote for 1-1 platform. So we do need your help in terms of promoting it. Our team will tell us that it's actually fun, because we do make personal contacts. We contacted each of those 97 candidates personally, and most of our volunteers said it was kind of a fun activity. They didn't all participate, but it was fun to reach out. It's a great opportunity to promote the league and let people know what we are doing. So that's one way you can help. And we would certainly invite you. Next year will be a really busy year. So we will invite you to join the Vote for 1-1 team and reach out to those candidates that are running for office in this spring and late summer elections that we will need to be covering. So that's a little bit about Vote for 1-1. I was also, in addition, I've been vice president this year, which was fun to get back on the board, but I also was responsible for the program committee. And again, you can see the names on the bottom of the people who organized the lunch and learns and various activities that the league hosted this year. We plan that we will be able to have in-person meetings and go back to the traditional second Tuesday lunch and learn in-person events. We are hopeful that the hybrid meeting technology will make it possible for us to meet in person, as well as make the option available to join us virtually. So look forward to learning more about that. Certainly we know you should be able to review any of the lunch and learns you may have missed, because the recordings are posted on our league's website and YouTube channel. So if you missed any of the programs, please refer to that. We had a variety, excuse me, of programs. In the fall, we kind of focused on voting rights, in preparation for the midterm elections. One of the expectations, not necessarily requirement, but the hope from the state league was that we continue to work on DEI and host a program on implicit bias, which we did that. We participated in a statewide training, and then Lori Cooper-Stoll from UWL led us in a more of a conversation about it locally. We know that democracy, I think it says that on the league's websites, is not a spectator sport. So we've since December kind of looked at how can we also raise up our role as advocates on issues that are of importance to the league. So we looked at, there is a legislative committee that the state has. It's kind of in a state of transition, but we do have local members who are on some of those committees. If you're interested, reach out and we'll be happy to help you link with the legislative committee at the state level. We looked at conservation. We looked at issues related to conservation, the courts in preparation for the judicial election, and public education spending. And then most recently, we're looking at environment as we think about the farm bill that includes a lot of environmental topics. If you have a particular passion about a topic of interest with the league that we've explored in the past, for example, fair maps is still an ongoing issue. The national popular vote, interstate compact, maybe you're interested in ranked choice voting, but whatever passion you have, if it's something that you are paying attention to, you could be what's kind of been referred to in the last year as like an issue champion. Keep us in the loop about what's going on and how the league can support that passion that you may have. So share that and help us be liaison with other nonpartisan partners, which I know Robin will refer to. So thanks again for participating in our programs. We look forward to you helping us with Vote 411. And I am going to turn it over to Jan Gallagher, who will provide an update on the Observer Corps program. Thank you.
Hello, let me tell you a little bit about the Observer Corps. Starting with what is the Observer Corps, because not everyone is familiar with it. We have reactivated something that was our local league did years ago, and it's a national activity. Observer Corps exists nationally and has for decades. So what is it? We attend local government meetings, and we attend the meetings, but we are silent. We do not participate in any way. We try to make ourselves almost invisible as far as the conveners of the meeting, so that we are we're recording. We're observing and recording what we see and hear. And these are government meetings of all kinds, and we'll talk about which ones. We use a template to record our observations, and then we post those observations on our website, the local league website, and for our members, and actually for the public, anyone who really wants to be able to see what we're writing. But it's intended to be more like a journalistic activity than anything else. And we're really being cautious about not being seen as league members who are coming to spy on the government entity or to find fault with the government entity, but rather stay tuned into what's going on. We decided locally to reactivate this Observer Corps activity because media was becoming less and less active in government meetings. The newspaper was pulling back on reporters, and in general, we found that there was less and less observation going on for our local government meetings. So you can see on the slide the different government entities that we've been observing. And again, our goal is to educate our own members on local government activities, and then holding open the option of being able to identify topics for further study and advocacy. So the La Crosse County Comprehensive Plan, for example, was one observed, and you know that the so-called County Envision 2050, that ended. That ad hoc committee made a recommendation to the county board, which was accepted in July. So our Observer Corps activities stopped when that ad hoc committee stopped meeting. The Criminal Justice Management Council has been recently very interesting. Scott Horn is leading an initiative, a new diversion program. Hopefully mental health and drug abuse detainees may be eligible for alternatives to incarceration. So that's a project that's beginning, and our Observer Corps team is following the activity and posting what they're observing on our website. The school board has been very dynamic and complex, and most recently, we've been noticing the board governance model has had some challenges. Individuals have challenged it, and that's been in the newspaper. The budget challenges are front and center. And most recently, they're forming, the school board is forming a facilities advisory committee. And our observer team, there are 3 people on that team, are going to be following those very interesting and fast-moving activities. The city of La Crosse is also developing a long-range plan, a comprehensive plan. Our team observed for a while. We are no longer observing those activities. A team also observed the Common Council budget hearings. And then most recently, we're observing a small but very important committee called the JNA, the Judiciary and Law Committee. And we're learning we're just beginning that observation. And so we're learning what will be the key issues that will be front and center on those agenda. So what is the value of the Observer Corps? We have 7 members, and I think each of us have said that it's a personal we're personally pleased to be able to learn more about the subject that we're observing, so that it's at a personal level, we're glad to do it. Whether there's any outcome for the league or any outcome for anyone else, that's good. We do think that we're creating a bridge or filling a gap, I guess is what I mean to say, with the local media coverage of government. Occasionally, we come across a topic or an issue where we may suggest that league get involved. I can give you an example of that. Back when the long-range plan for the county was being developed, the ad hoc committee asked us if we could pull together a focus group, kind of a focus group of league members, to be able to give them some feedback, valuing the opinion of the league members. So there was a direct connection with that particular committee, and I think with good results. In the future, if a topic or an issue becomes something that we feel as observers could use some more exposure or could use some league involvement, we will take our recommendation to the board, and the board will discuss ways that we might be able to develop a program or have an article on the website, or in some way add some support or input into that topic. So that in a nutshell is what the Observer Corps is and does. We welcome additional people. We are limited in how many entities we can observe by the number of people. We try to be teams of 2, or usually on average 2 observers per government entity. So we welcome additional people. It's very interesting, and we got a good team. You can see the members of our group at the bottom of that slide. Martha, I know you're listening, and we sure miss you. Martha is no longer part of our team, but we've welcomed Julia Jesperson. So we're still 7 people, and we welcome others. So let me introduce to you Karen Kroll, who will talk to you about the book club.
Thank you, Jan. I'm actually speaking for Maureen Kinney. She's actually the book club leader. She wasn't able to be here today. Maureen is one of the original founders of book club, which she started with others several years ago. And look at those beautiful book titles. They look so great. I want to talk a little bit in a minute about how we select the book titles. Part of the League's mission is to provide education opportunities on issues affecting our democracy and our world. And I feel that book club definitely fits that mission. I'm a regular attendee myself, and I enjoy it, and it's thoroughly enjoyed by all. In fact, it's enjoyed so much that every April or so, Maureen asks us, now, do you want to take a break over the summer from book club? And it's always a resounding no. Everybody wants to keep meeting, discussing, socializing, and learning around these fantastic book titles. First, a bit of the mechanics. When do we meet? It's the last Monday of the month generally, but that changes if there's a conflict. So this month in May, Memorial Day is the last Monday. So we're not meeting then. We're meeting next Monday on the 22nd at 6:30 p.m. Where do we meet? That has changed over the years. We started out at Java Vino, that restaurant on the south side. There's a little meeting room in the back. But then, of course, we went to Zoom like everything did. And then last year, we started meeting outdoors at the International Friendship Gardens. And then coming out of the winter and the pandemic, we needed a new venue, partly because we had really outgrown that room at Java Vino. We used to have 5, 6, 7 people who would discuss. Now it's more like 8, 10, 12, 15 people. So that was no longer a possibility. Unfortunately, we have Gail in our group who lives in the River Place Apartments, which is right next to International Friendship Gardens. And it has a beautiful meeting room that she reserves for us. It overlooks the gardens. It's spacious, comfortable furniture, windows, and it also has an outdoor deck. So on really nice days, we intend to go outside on the deck, especially for those who are worried about meeting indoors. That might be an opportunity for them. So we thank Gail for that. Who can attend book club? It's everyone. So just not members. Tell your friends or acquaintances who you think might be interested in something like this to join us. And how do you attend? Do you have to register? The answer is no, you don't have to register. We were registering when we were getting Zoom links, of course, for our virtual meetings. But now that we're in person, you don't have to, but we still recommend it. And the reasons are 3. First of all, you get your reminder email about the book club. And secondly, you get an update if any of the meeting information changes. For example, our last meeting was changed this last minute because of the flooding in La Crosse. Gail vacated the premises, so we could no longer go into that building. And we found a different venue real quick. And so anybody who'd registered, we had their email so we could let them know. And third, we often converse with each other sometimes before and after the meeting, anybody who has signed up. For example, one of the books on there you see is the Book of Hope by Jane Goodall. That's her newest book. I learned that she was speaking at UW-Madison the night before our meeting. And so I let everyone know who had given me their email address and registered, and also the link so they could watch virtually or go in person. And sometimes we follow up after the meeting and people talk about, oh, there's this article that relates to the book we read. And so we go on with discussions. You don't have to register. So if that's a problem for you, don't worry about it, but it just helps. And last but not least, now the books, how do we choose them? The books are chosen at the meetings by the members. Maureen always brings a lot of titles to the meeting, but other participants do too. And we select those books with an eye to a few different issues. We try sometimes to tie books to current issues of the day. We have tied books into a program that the league is doing, such as at a lunch and learn. We've read books by authors who are scheduled to speak locally. And we also have an eye to DEI, as Robin mentioned, that we all do in all our groups. But I just want to say that with the book titles, I actually made a spreadsheet for that. And so we have the genders of the authors, gender-related issues, race and ethnicity, socioeconomic groups, etc. So that's all on the spreadsheet. And then we also go around the room now because the group has gotten bigger, and make sure we're going to start having everybody have a chance to speak by going around the room, and you can share if you want to, because otherwise different personality types and discussion styles, you might get lost in a shuffle with this ever growing group. And also kind of a DEI related thing is that we select books that are available at the library. So they're not the newest books. They've maybe been out for at least a few months. And that way people don't have to purchase the books if they don't want to. And Maureen will often ask ahead of time how many people want a library book, and she'll interlibrary loan it and bring several copies with her. We also try to balance the topics so that if we have read a lot about American history, you can see the 1619 Project book, which views American history through the lens of race. And we balance it with things we learn about other countries, science-related topics, etc. And we also try to balance genres. So there might be nonfiction, fiction, biography. The last book was actually a graphic novel that we read that was a real new experience for some of us. And it's good too, because if you've just read the 1619 Project, which we discussed over 2 meetings, fabulous book. We learned so much from each other and the book. But it was nice then to go to maybe a fiction book afterwards, so you could sort of rest your mind a little bit. Of course, you can get more info on book club on the website. You can go to the event calendar and find out about May book club coming up, which is As Long as Grass Grows, and then the June book, South to America. But there's also, Nora has created a page that if you engage on issues book club, and it'll show you the list of all the books that we've read from 2018 on. So you can look over that and see what we've read or what you might be interested in reading, which is a great resource as well. So I feel that the book club really fulfills our mission of education on issues, but it's also socialization and fun. It's a way to meet and talk to members and non-members. And a lot of us are in league because we care so passionately about these issues. And here's this great opportunity to talk about them in this atmosphere of congeniality and relaxation, and it's very open. And we're doing it through great books, books that have often won awards or bestseller lists. And we're not just learning from the books, but we're learning from one another as we discuss. So we think book club is a great jewel offered by the league. And now the next speaker is Nora Garland, Communications Oversight Committee Chairman.
Thanks, Karen. Tonight, I'd like to recognize all the generous member volunteers who help our league navigate the challenge of communicating in this crowded, complicated multimedia world. We started out with 2 little jobs that I did as communications chair, and now we have a whole team of people who are operating on a variety of platforms. We start out with a monthly meeting of our Communications Oversight Committee. That's made up of the standing committee chairs, Robin Schmidt, Deb Luchin, Barb Roberts, Chris Haskell, and then we have members at large, Catherine Kolkmeyer, Karen Kroll, and Martha Linville. And that committee starts us out each month by looking at our communications calendar and making sure that we're covering everything and producing content that's consistent with league priorities and values. We also address some other items of business, but mainly we get ourselves organized with that monthly meeting. We also have a worker bee team. We call ourselves the ladies of the morning. Sometimes we meet, a group of 5 of us that meet weekly to brainstorm, strategize, design graphics, write copy, and we organize our online presence. Working cooperatively, Barb Roberts and Margie Hansen bring their insight and energy to our social media posts. Martha Linville creates our really very readable and informative news updates. I manage the website and the YouTube channel, and Chris Haskell tracks our media analytics and guides our messaging strategies. We all work together and coordinate all of those different avenues for communication. I'd like also to thank Cheryl Robbins, who maintains the voter services document library on our website, and Karen, who just spoke to you, who creates and posts our book club meetings and the reading list. She keeps that reading list page up to date. Also, a thank you to Cindy Berg, who manages the website photo gallery. I don't know if you've ever looked at that. That's in the About section on the menu on the website. And we try now to be pretty good about taking photos at all our events. They go to Cindy. Cindy sometimes crops them a little bit, makes them look a little better. And they're all posted on that section of the website if you'd like to look at them. And she also posts our events to the local community calendars. Also, Barb Roberts, again, wearing another hat, who issues press releases and publicity emails for league activities. We also coordinate with the folks who write numerous articles and letters to the editor, working both to get writers started writing and editing those copies before they go to the paper. As you can see, all this communications work is clearly a group effort. We would not be able to do this without these great volunteers. And we're really fortunate to have this dedicated and talented group working with us, so our voice is in the community. We're really pleased to see evidence of a growing reach among all our various platforms. We've picked up followers, particularly on Instagram and Facebook. We've also seen our YouTube channel used more often. I'm pleased to report that we had our YouTube channel as a source for the Wygant-Hogan and Grandview Emerson Neighborhood Association's candidate forums for the school board race this year. And we had over 350 views of that candidate forum. So clearly there is an audience for those kinds of things. And I'm excited to hear what Leslie has in store for us next year. We have even more projects in mind and would love to add volunteers to our communications team. If any of you have an interest in any aspect of communications, photography, videography, graphic arts, web design, writing, or editing, please consider joining us. Just send a message through the contact button on the website and we'll talk. Someone will call you and I'm sure we'll be able to find a niche for you. Let me close by saying thanks to all of you who look for our communications, who open our news updates and read them, who like us and follow us on our social media, and share what you see as newsworthy with friends and family. Please look for us if you aren't doing that currently. On the slide, you can see at the bottom. Whoops, I think I just lost my space here. There we go. You can see at the bottom, we are at LWV Lacrosse on our social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and then lwvlacrosse.org is our website. You can amplify the voice of our league and give our work even wider reach if you share the material that we communicate with you. Thanks very much, and I'm going to return to Robin. She's going to wrap us up.
There we go, unmute. Okay. So I also just want to give a quick shout out to the Upper Mississippi River Interleague organization for all the work they do, and appreciate that Carolyn and Nancy are our representatives on that. So big shout out to them. It's a great organization that does great work. I also want to remind folks that all of the information that you just heard about has much more detail in our annual report. Thanks, Chris, for mentioning that. So please go to our website if you want to read more information. It's a great source of just filling out the gaps in the short time that we had to present our information. I also want to say that many of you know that a lot of our dues goes to state and national level, and they provide us with an enormous amount of power and resources, and we applaud them for all the work that they do, but we couldn't do what we do at the local level without supporters and members who donate additional funds to us, and to the supporters and organizations and family funds that provide us with grants. And so last year, we got almost $4,000 in donations, and we got almost $5,000 in grants. That's what makes us be visible in the community. That's what makes us be able to do the things that we do, like the Davis campaign and other innovative billboards and things like that. So thank you so much. If you're part of that donation, if you're not and have the ability to contribute, we welcome it. You know what great work we do. But we're just very appreciative that without that, I don't know that we would be nearly as effective as we are in our mission of empowering voters and defending democracy. So thank you, a big thank you to all. I also wanted to, let's see if I can get my slides loaded here. I also would be remiss without just highlighting all of the people whom organizations that with which we have partnered. And so this just represents graphically all the different organizations in the community that reach out to us, that we partner with, that help us amplify our voice and spread the mission. So thank you to all of those and to all of you who make those partnerships work. I also want to give a big shout out lastly to our board members, what I call our retiring board members. I want to really thank Morgan for being our first student board representative, and your energy and enthusiasm and insights are really appreciated. Really special thanks to Deb Luchin, who served as our vice president and our program committee chair. And Deb, your reminder for us about the role of advocacy within the league is something that resonates, and we will continue with that as well. And Martha, your generosity of your time and talents with us as a board has been just really refreshing. And I know that you'll continue to work with us, not as a board member, but as a volunteer. And we are most grateful for that. It's been a pleasure working with all of you, and really thank you so much. I do want to mention that Kathy Ivy is stepping down as treasurer, but she's going to remain on the board. Kathy, you have been such a wealth of information and resource for us and have worked so hard at being treasurer. I just want to make sure that you get your thanks as well for all of the things you have done to help us stay legit and keep our books on track. So I think what we are going to do next is just get to the elections. We're going to do this a little differently this year. We were going to have a poll, but instead I think we're going to, we asked our attorney, our Ellen France, who helped us interpret the bylaws to make sure that we can do a voice vote on these items. And so I would like to say that the first thing we're going to do is ask for a vote for, let me see, let me just double check my next slide. Nope, that's Jane. Let's go back a slide, sorry. Okay. The first item is our 2022 annual meeting minutes. So I would ask whether or not there's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of our 2022 annual meeting.
I so move.
Wonderful. Is there a second?
Second. I will second.
Okay, we have 2 seconds. I think Anita, I heard you first. So we have a motion second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand or unmute yourselves and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So the annual meeting minutes are approved. The second item is our 2023-2024 proposed budget. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to approve the proposed budget?
I move to approve the budget, the 2023-2024 proposed budget.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, that was Betty, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion on the budget? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The budget passes unanimously. The next item is the 2023-2024 proposed program. Is there a motion for the program?
I move.
Deb moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Leslie. Is there any discussion on the program? All right, I'll call a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The program passes unanimously. So for the next votes, we have to follow Robert's Rules of Order. And so what I'll do for each position is I'll have to ask whether or not there are any nominations from the floor in addition to those names that were submitted to us for recommendation by our nominating committee. So the first item that we're going to ask to approve is the recommendation of the nominating committee that next year's nominating committee be comprised of Jan Gallagher, Sheila Garrity, and Maureen Kinney. Are there any other nominations for people to be voted on for the nominating committee? Are there any other nominations? I have to say it 3 times for Robert's rules. Are there any other nominations? All right, seeing none, then I will call a vote. Is there a motion from the floor to approve the recommendations of the nominating committee that Jan Gallagher, Sheila Garrity, and Maureen Kinney serve on the nominating committee for the next year?
So moved.
Thank you, Roz. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
A second by Leslie. I saw you. Somebody else said it too, but I didn't catch it.
Catherine. I saw Catherine.
That's all right. You can have it.
All right. So all in favor, any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next position is for our board of directors. We have 3 openings and 3 candidates that were recommended by the nominating committee. I will ask, are there any other nominations from the floor for the board of directors? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, I would ask that there be a motion to approve the recommendation of the nominating committee for Barb Roberts, Chris Haskell, and Deb Buffton to serve on our board of directors.
I so move.
Moved by Leslie, seconded by Nora.
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. Next is the position of treasurer. Are there any nominations for treasurer? The nominating committee has recommended that Catherine Kolkmeyer serve as the next treasurer. Are there any other nominations for treasurer from the floor? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to approve Catherine Kolkmeyer to serve as our next treasurer?
So moved.
That was moved by Roz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Betty. All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Catherine Kolkmeyer is elected to our treasurer. The next position is secretary. The nominating committee recommended that Rhonda Atkinson serve as our next secretary. Rhonda, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I apologize deeply if I didn't. And so I ask, are there any other nominations for secretary from the floor? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? All right. So is there a motion to approve Rhonda to be our next secretary per the recommendation of the nominating committee?
So moved.
Moved by Deborah, seconded by Nora. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Rhonda, thank you so much. You are now elected to serve as our secretary. For the position of vice president, the nominating committee has recommended Margie Hansen to serve as our next vice president. Are there any other nominations from the floor for vice president? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Is there a motion from the floor then to approve Margie as our vice president?
I so
I'll
move.
move.
Moved by Leslie, seconded by Martha. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Margie, congratulations. You are going to be serving as our vice president. Thank you so much. Lastly, is the position of president. And the nominating committee has recommended that Jane Powell be elected to serve as president for the next 2 years. Are there any nominations from the floor for president? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Is there a motion then to approve Jane Powell as our next president?
I so move.
Moved by- Second by Kathy Mulliner. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries, and Jane is, welcome Jane as our new president. And before I turn it over to you, Jane, I want to take just a minute to thank everyone for your past support for the last 2 years. This time has flown by. It's been such an honor to serve as your president. It's been a difficult 2 years for me personally, and being able to serve as your president and being focused and having a person has made it so much easier for me. And I just really thank you for all your support and honesty and debate. And you're just an awesome group of people to work with. And I've been really, truly honored. So thank you. And I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to end my slideshow and I'm going to turn it over to Jane.
All right.
Welcome, Jane.
Well, I'm glad I know most everybody here. There's some I don't know, but I'm sure looking forward to getting to work with you and get to know you. As you can see from the report, we have a very strong league with strong leadership in every single area, a lot of depth of knowledge and experience and passion. And so Robin has agreed to mentor me and stay on the board as ex officio president, which is going to be a big support to me, as well as so many of you that have reached out to offer support. I am happy to going to be working with Margie and Catherine and Rhonda. I think all 4 of us are new, so you know, it's really going to be interesting and exciting, but we'll all fit into the puzzle with our pieces and make everything be good, I hope, and I trust. I just want to say a little bit how, I joined about my background, because for some that maybe don't know me, I'm a retired nurse from Gunderson of 35 years, and I love that. And then I had a year before COVID where my husband and I could travel a lot. But when January and February came along and the 2020 election was looming, and there wasn't a time you could watch anything on TV or see anything in the paper other than election news, I felt that I needed to be involved to do something. And so I knew about the league. I knew that Ellen Franz was a member, and I respected her opinions on things. I knew they did candidate forums, and I knew that Jan Gallagher would sit at the library and register people. So I had a high image of the league. And I looked online. I guess I don't remember, because online wasn't as advanced as it is these days. But anyway, so I decided to join, and Kathy Mulliner reached out and was so gracious to, get me going and encourage me. And lo and behold, because my name was on the list when COVID happened in March, and there was not enough poll workers, I was called to be a poll worker. And so that was my first activity, really getting into the elections, and I was proud to be able to learn and start doing that. After that, because we were on COVID and Zoom, I was able to start going to the voter services meetings that Laura and Chris were leading. And that was so informative, and so much information, and such important work being done, that I just kind of melted into that group. And then Martha, as Deb mentioned, worked hard on the 411 vote stuff. And so then I kind of put my feet into that and started working on that with Martha, who was another great person to text back and forth with. And then it just kind of went from there. Then they asked me to be secretary. So I've learned a lot the last few years. I really appreciated being with people. And some of you have heard me say this before. I don't know where I saw it on some webinar. Somebody said that when you find people that inspire you and challenge you, you should spend as much time with them as you can. So you guys are it for me. And so that's where I'm at now. I wanted to say a couple things I'd say I've learned is the nuts and bolts of elections, and that every single election is important. Local elections are specifically very important, and every vote matters, because sometimes they're only won by 5 votes. The league, every one vote signs, yard signs are very important, and they matter. And then I also now know the difference between a Word document and a PDF. Didn't really know. The other thing I know is that people want to do their part. People want to vote. People want to, do something. But as Morgan said, I really appreciate that she said this. They don't know how to register. They don't know when they should register. They don't know that if they move, they need to register again. Absentee balloting is a foreign world to people. There's so much people are busy with it. Hope Restores, the women told us, we want to participate, but we don't have time to research the candidates. We don't know where a good source of information is. And they just don't feel confident going to the polls or where their poll is with this change in census. And they don't want to break the law. So I think that the league just answers all those questions with such integrity and compassion that it's just the right place to be. It's the right thing to do. And I just welcome anybody that, you are all members, you're already involved, but we are going to continue to encourage people to see if there's some other new little niche that they want to get into and help any one of these committees do the great work they do. And we are going to be having a ice cream social again in August, like last year. It was well attended, well appreciated. And so we'll be doing that. More information will come out as it gets organized. And then we would like to also let people know and invite a friend, and the committee members and chairs will be there. Somebody will be there from every committee to talk to people, answer questions, see if there's some little part of this big puzzle that they want to fit into. So it'll be an opportunity to learn and socialize in August. I think the other thing I just want to say is that the 2024 election is going to be huge. So even though we think we have like this breather over the summer, we have to be prepared. We need to continue to build and engage people and let them know that we're here, and just keep this strong momentum that we have had this year with such a high 53% voter turnout locally, and the student turnout great. So we just got to keep that all going. So this concludes the meeting. That concludes my comments. I would ask that the board members please stay on the Zoom meeting for a few minutes after we've adjourned. And so then I would also now like to ask someone to make a motion to adjourn. If there's no other discussion, is there anybody that has anything else they need to mention? All right, I don't hear anything. I can't see you. So I'd like to ask someone to make a motion to adjourn.
I would move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second,
Who was that now?
Deborah.
Deborah, okay. And then all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. And so the motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for your participation. We hope to see you this summer, either at a social gathering or concerts in the park or the ice cream social or somewhere. Have a good summer and thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Now I'm going to turn the meeting over to Nora. No, I'm sorry, Martha.
Nora's going, no, no, no.
I'm thinking Martha's ready. We'll all talk.
I'm ready. So Robin, I came to your house earlier today and brought something that I told you not to get into. And look at that very polite note. I even said, so now you can take the box out.
Which one?
Well, take the one out that's funny because people need to see that one too. So here's one of the boxes that was in her package, and it is modeling clay. Oh my, I guess we're going to let her model now and make things in play. But the other box, and then there should be an envelope in that.
Do you want me to take them out first before I open one?
Yes. Well, the
Wow,
modeling
look at
clay
this,
is empty.
beautiful.
So
Did you make this ribbon?
no, I bought it, but that's why I had to put the modeling clay box in there because I was afraid it was going to get smashed. And it's so cute.
And yes, and here is a card.
Okay, so if you'd like to go ahead and open, well, you can do it either way. You can open the card first if you'd like.
All right, I will. It's beautiful. Wow. Oh, it's three-dimensional. It says, thank you. And it lists the board members. And it says so much. Thank you, Robin, for your leadership for the last 2 years as president of the League of Women Voters of the La Crosse area. This gift is to help you enhance the possibilities of the future. Ooh, I love it. Thank you. So what do I open first?
So open the package with the fun bow on top.
I love this bow. I've never seen one like it. Right,
You
I'm
can
gonna put
find
the
those
bag
at
on the
Target.
photo. You know, I'm one that doesn't like to rip the paper because I always reuse it. And by the way, these look like really good donuts.
I was telling Robin that the box that I used is what I got my Mother's Day present in from my daughter yesterday. And she had her daughter, my granddaughter, cut out pictures of animals and put them on there. And so by the time I received the box, it had almost as much tape as it did paper on it, because the pictures went from this size down to this size, down to this size, to almost nothing. But she helped me open it also. So we had paper all over the place, but Robin's being very careful. Oh, look.
Look, I'm doing this.
I
All
did
one
not
piece.
tape it. I did not tape the box shut. I
Oh, okay.
helped you out. So it should just, the flap should come up and then you can get down into it.
Oh, it's from Saks Fifth Avenue. You shouldn't have.
Oh dear, she's really going to be disappointed now.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, you guys, these are great. These are different quarter sections of fabric from Olive Juice Quilts, which is my all-time favorite store. These are beautiful. Thank you. And there's an envelope here too. You know, I was just, I took this class a month ago or so, and I had a friend come over and wanted me to teach how to do collage with fabric. And so we spent this morning spending a couple hours doing that. It was very fun. Oh my gosh, you guys, you are way too generous. This is a fabulous gift certificate for Olive Juice. Oh, wow. Really awesome.
Run right out and spend it.
I will treasure this. I really, really, really appreciate you. And then know that what I spend this on, I will always think of this, of you guys and your generosity. So this is really, really wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'm glad to find out that you have that as a hobby, that quilting. Nora she knew about that. I didn't know.
Well, I'm very much a novice, but I have two sister-in-laws who are truly professional quilters, and they inspire me with what they do. And so I try to emulate them, and I text them constantly saying, what do I do next? So they're very helpful, but I'm always inspired by color and by texture. So it's really fabulous to see some of the things that you can do with fabric. The fabrics are just so cool. This, right now it's available for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Robin, for all your leadership and support.
Thanks, Robin.
But I have to open this modeling clay box.
Yes, open the modeling clay box. It's empty, but if you ever need really good modeling clay.
Oh, so it was just holding things in
It was just holding things
I
still.
thought there was actually something in it.
No,
I'm disappointed. I thought you were
sorry.
going to make something for us.
I know.
Thank you again, Robin, too, for working so hard on the state meeting and your leadership that you're going to continue to carry that thing out, and everybody that's going to participate in that. And then tomorrow, Robin's going to come to my house and teach me how to doodle, do the doodle survey. Is that what you guys want to do in order to find a date in June that we can have a retreat for a few hours during the day? Do it by doodle. Should we do it that way?
Sure. Yeah, that is
a
good
I
system.
use a program called XOYONDO, and I find it easier than Doodle.
Okay.
But yeah, a polling, yeah, we'll use that.
So we'll be working on that, and so it would be certainly after the state convention, but we'll get together and do that and go from there.
And then, hey, just one last thing. Can we just confirm? So for the state annual meeting, I think, Jane, you're going to be a paid person. I think, Nora, you also were.
I hadn't committed to that. I thought you were going to ask the newer board members first if they wanted to be, I think. I just found out yesterday that my nephew's graduation party is that Saturday. So,
okay.
Yeah, so I should be able to do some of it, but I don't want to commit to all of it.
Okay. So
We have some time. Rhonda Akison was one we had wondered about, and we'll see now. I don't think she was on tonight, was she? I couldn't see everybody, I don't think, but
It wasn't on the list, no.
So
Yeah,
we
I
need to,
think she sent an email saying that she had a conflict tonight. I think I remember seeing something from her about that.
okay, but she might do it.
So Jane, we can follow up on that
Yeah.
tomorrow. I just want to make sure, because the deadline's coming up, that we actually get people registered.
May 24th.
Yes, yes. And it was so refreshing. So I got notice that there was a president's meeting on Wednesday. So I emailed Jane and said, you know, are you getting these? And do you want me to attend with you? And Jane responded and said, I think you can shed that responsibility. And I thought, yeah. So
More time for quilting
yeah, really, really. No, I
and
honestly,
kayaking, right?
yeah,
Kayaking.
you guys just really.
Kayak yet, too dangerous with the high water.
I suppose.
It's been really great. I feel like I'm sure I was a pain in your sides at times. But I just really appreciate all the hard work that all of you have done. It's really inspiring to me. And I'm excited to be staying on the board and to help in whatever ways that are needed. And, you know, Jane, anytime, you know, you have questions or need some help with something, give a shout out. I'm happy to, you know, help with this transition. But also
Really felt very supported by you all. Every single one of you has been kind and supportive. So I don't think I don't think I will drop us off the cliff.
you'll be great.
And I expect to learn a lot too. I've told Chris this when I've been in nursing and moved from one department to another, it seemed like it was about a 2-year learning curve. So I'll probably in 2 years feel like I kind of know a little bit what I'm doing. But in the meantime, I always enjoy learning and I enjoy participating, and I feel a great sense of I feel this is worthwhile. So I think we'll be able to do this. So all right.
All right, everyone. Hey, thank
I
you
think-
for a great meeting.
Just before we left, I just want to say, watching the meeting tonight, I'm really proud of us, all of us. We do a hell of a job. We really do.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And let's keep it going. We got more work to do, right?
That's
Yep,
right.
yep, yeah.
All right.
All right,
Bye-bye.
you guys, be well.
night,
Bye,
everyone.
take
everybody.
care.
Yeah,
Good night.
bye-bye.